What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a 2-round mock draft with trades post free agency. It's going to be split up into 2 different days, and guess what? We are going to be doing a 2024 mock draft based on this one right after it. So you're going to pretty much get 3 days of mock draft this week. Round 1 today, round 2 tomorrow. And then we got that 2024 mock coming soon after that. So would love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe. We just reached 7,500 subscribers. So let's get rolling onto that 10K mark. Links are also in the description as well as in the ticker. Let's go and let's kick some ass with this mock draft because let's just say, yeah, I've been very excited to do this one. We dropped a no trades mock draft about a couple days ago, and I've been very eager to get this one up. So the number 1 overall pick, there's a balance between Bryce Young as well as CJ Stroud. To me, I think that they're going to lean with Frank Reich's comfortability, and that's with a larger quarterback above 6'2". Now, I can't really say larger. He's like 11 pounds heavier than Bryce. Bryce, I mean, I'm sure he ate quite a few cheeseburgers on his way to get up to the 204 mark, but he is not too much heavier than Bryce Young. However, you do have that larger stature. I do think that you can also build upon that stature a little bit more. I think they're going to lean that way, but if you guys want to change it, we all know what the top 2 picks are going to be. It's going to be CJ and Bryce. Kind of has been since the beginning, so it's finally not a Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell situation where the top 2 guys ended up kind of busting out in their final year, but I do think that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are going to be the top 2 picks. I'm going to select them in this order. If you guys think that's another order, feel free to do that as well. I think Bryce is the number 1 quarterback in the class, but I blend realism in with my mock drafts as well. Pick number 3. I am going to do a trade back here because I think the value of Anthony Richardson's too damn good. I released a quarterbacks video, so you guys can check it out for a more in-depth description as to why I have Anthony as my number 2, kind of like 2A quarterback. But, yeah, feel free to check out the video on that one. And there's a reason when you look at the stats, you're like, dude, Anthony Richardson doesn't look that good. You have to understand why. And when you analyze the game tape of Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, I think the room for easy improvement is most for Anthony Richardson. And it comes down to his mechanics. I think that's something that you can tweak. Now, is it a done deal that he can tweak them? Absolutely not. But I have seen in the offseason that he's been putting in the work. Dude wears glasses, so I already have confidence that he has a good work ethic. Y'all know it's a joke. But still, I do believe that he's super self-critical. After that Florida State game where he had like a 33% completion percentage, he looked like he was beating himself up. I love him having self-accountability for that. And I think over the years, he's going to take a micro jump here, a micro jump here, a micro jump here, even if it is small. When other guys are not making those jumps, he's going to be doing that. And in 3, 4, 5 years' time, I think he genuinely could be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I do think teams should be trying to bid for this pick. So I personally am going to make sure, if I am Chris Ballard, that I have an insurance policy. It's also a reason to keep your job because you're saying, hey, this guy's a multi-year project. If Will Levis busts out, Ballard's gone. And it's kind of like counterintuitive. You're saying, hey, this is a project, but this is somebody who's new. He's electric. And Shane Steichen is used to using a mobile quarterback. When Jalen came into the league, he was not an elite passer. And I think that Anthony Richardson could be. But that same mentality of, hey, I have a great work ethic. I want to command a locker room and I want to look in the mirror and be proud of myself. I think that might be a recipe that repeats itself here. I am a huge fan of Anthony Richardson, obviously, and I think he's going to do perfectly fine. So Mel Kiper's mock draft introduced the Trubisky level trade in terms of compensation. I'm going to follow that because, I think it just makes sense. So we are going to force that trade through. The Colts then secure their quarterback. And for the people saying, why would the Colts trade up? The Arizona Cardinals are not going to take a QB. Think about it this way. 1, if the Cardinals are going to take a QB, why the hell would they trade back? Honestly, if they wanted to take a QB, why would they trade back? So you have that factored in. But 2, other teams want to trade up. I did not need to do the deal with Indianapolis. I could have done it with Seattle. I could have done it with Vegas. I could have done it with Tennessee, who has offered for the number 1 overall pick. They're actually one of the first teams to do so. So let's calm down on the idea that this is a bad trade up for the Colts, because I think it's an excellent move. Because rather than getting the last in line, you're getting your choice of probably a super high ceiling young quarterback. And then if you really want Will Levis, you still have that choice. So the choice for the cost of a third, a fourth, and a next year third, I would do that if I'm a GM. I would totally do that. So glad to see that Anthony Richardson goes to Steichen. Pick number 4, I would love to see another trade back option here. The problem is I was thinking that you can move up with Tennessee here. It's just such an expensive move up. You would have to send a 1-2-1, and Tennessee doesn't have that many picks. So it's just not worth it. Could the why do I want to say the Eagles so badly? It's probably because I want to trade up with the Eagles for Will Anderson. But could the Cardinals be fine with taking a lower pay? Sure. But I just don't think that they're going to. I don't believe in it. I just don't think that's going to happen. They're adding a lot of draft capital this draft already. They have plenty of it. They added a third and a fourth. I think they want to be able to hit at least on one superstar. And Will Anderson could be that Khalil Mack dude who's there for 15 years. That's worth a number 4 overall pick plus a third, a fourth, and a next year third. So I do think they'll end up going that way. There are rumors that Tyree Wilson's their dude. That's totally understandable because they might use him in that 4-3 as a 2-gap player. But Will Anderson's had a lot of success in a 4-3. I think if you use a hybrid system, you can actually use him in that Hassan Reddick role that Gannon had last year and use him as a blitzer off the outside. Not blitzer, but an edge rusher off the outside. I think he has the athleticism for it. I think he has the skill to do whatever the hell he wants. He might be slightly misutilized, but also I think in time, he's one, going to be effective immediately, but 2, it just shows that the ceiling is even higher. So they'll find a role for Will Anderson because I think he'll be the focal point of that defense. Seattle sitting here, it's a tough spot, man. It is a really tough spot because personally, I love the idea of Tyree Wilson to this team. I do. I think Will Levis is not a bad selection at all. I think that Seattle gave Geno a 1-year deal. And if you look at the contract, it is a 1-year deal. It's a 3-year deal, but it's pretty much a 1-year deal. I think Jalen Carter could be super intriguing for this team. I really do. But I just don't think that they want to take a risk on somebody who can't really, take care of themselves. Their self-maintenance capabilities are not great. This is not the old Seahawks that used to just take every single dude known to man and just make them into like a superstar. I don't think that's going to be possible. So I personally would love the idea of trading down from this spot, but I do think Tyree Wilson is just so awesome. They are meeting and taking selfies with CJ Stroud. Would not be too surprised if they end up actually moving up for him, but still, you got to do your due diligence. I'm going to give them that. I'm going to go Tyree Wilson here. I think that he can play inside or outside, and I think that does have a lot of value. I think he's fast enough to play as a pure edge, and the only reason he hasn't tested is because he had foot surgery. He broke his foot at the end of the year. Otherwise, I think he'd be rising up boards to be a top 3, top 4 selection because 35.5-inch arms cannot be taught, and he's already had 50 pressures on the year as a raw pass rusher. I think they're going to be able to have their stamp of approval. They went in the first round when people said it was too early with a Texas Tech defender before, and Jordan Brooks is still being able to kick ass there for Seattle, especially now next to Bobby Wagner again. So you're going to have 2 really good Texas Tech defenders on your defense, and I really do believe that Tyree can make a splash there, and he doesn't have the immaturity issues that Jalen Carter does. So I got to say that. At pick number 6, this is what I want to do. I want to trade back because there's still Will Levis on the board. I don't think that Dan Campbell wants Jalen Carter because he's looking for dudes with that blue-collar mentality, that really good work ethic. And if I were whispering in Dan Campbell's ear, I'd say, you're the guy who can make Jalen Carter into that. But I just don't think, well, 1, I'm not the dude doing that. But 2, I just don't think he would bite on that. And there's insiders from my boy Micro Mike at Chat Sports Lions who have told him they wouldn't even take him at 18. If that's the case, I don't think they're going to take him at 6. So I am going to trade back here. Will Levis is still on the board, and I think this is a great spot for the Tennessee Titans to move up. They made an offer for that number 1 overall selection. So I think that sending a 1-1 does make total sense. I don't think it's too pricey to move a 1-1 for 6. To go up to pick number 3, it costs 3 first-round picks and I believe seconds. But I mean, honestly, Tennessee might say, "Yo, can you toss in a third-round pick?" We'll toss in a third-round pick. Not going to affect this mock draft, so don't worry about that. But I am going to toss in a 1-1. I think that's just the best way to do it. You have a lot of picks in this draft. We actually might ask for like pick 147 to add in here, add 1 extra pick. But the Detroit Lions are going to move back and move back pretty much twice in this draft, but add in an extra first-round pick. Again, pulling a Philadelphia Eagles. It's been a great recipe, and I think that's a way that you could potentially get a number 1 overall pick. Will Levis is going to be the selection. They made an offer for number 1. Guys, do not say they don't want a quarterback. They are interested in one. Ryan Tannehill is our guy. Says every GM that probably gets rid of their dude literally like days after. So, yeah, I think Will Levis is a perfect system fit. I think he's a cross between Carson Wentz and Ryan Tannehill, and I think Ryan Tannehill has had some pretty good success there in Tennessee compared to Miami. So, yeah, I think he fits. I really do. I think he fits, and if I'm a guy who my job's on the line, I want to at least take a shot on something that's a little bit more unknown than something that has not really proven to work over very recent years. So I can't say years, but over the past year, Ryan Tannehill he was injured. But, Malik Willis isn't the answer either. You need a longer-term option. I think Will Levis could be worth that, and it doesn't cost you that much. Pick number 7 for the Raiders. I think Jalen Carter is this type of dude. I think that when you look at McDaniels, when he was there in New England, they drafted Christian Barmore out of Alabama. Christian Barmore, from inside sources that I have, was known as someone who was uncoachable and lacked work ethic. Tell me that's not the exact same thing. Incredible talent level. Fell because of his personality concerns and is honestly a really solid player. I think Jalen Carter fits that mold perfectly. We are going to be going Jalen Carter here to the Raiders. I'm going to be continuing to hammer that so long as it is available. Potentially, if I am the Lions, I would potentially make a deal with the Eagles to move up for Jalen Carter, but that was not done. Pick number 8 for the Falcons. I think Devon Witherspoon, given the fact that Huxtable has worked with his defensive coordinator in the past, does have that link there. So I do think that it would make sense for them to continue bolstering that secondary. It's that or edge rusher. They could trade back, but I don't see anybody worth moving up for. So Devon Witherspoon's that pick. Pick number 9 for the Bears. I don't really think this is a novel idea, going offensive line. I want to get a guy who's comfortable playing on the right side of the offensive line. Paris Johnson played a year at right guard. I think he can play right tackle perfectly fine. I think if you want to move Braxton Jones, you can do that as well. So, I think you have yourself a hyper-versatile offensive lineman with 36-inch arms. I think it's like 36 and a quarter. So you have a dude who has an amazing frame, great athlete. He's moved up my board as well because I've been a notorious Paris Johnson, maybe not much of a fan, but not a primary supporter, at least, of Paris Johnson. The Eagles sitting here at 10, there are 2 dudes who I want to mention, and that's going to be Bijan Robinson, which I know is a hot take, but when you think about it, how he's been adding all these one-year contracts, they're kind of just filling holes, and I don't really think the value is good enough for any of these players to be moved up for by another team. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. is so good. It pisses me off that you guys brought back both Slay and Bradbury because this was the prime position to get Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon. You were in prime position to get a pure starting corner, and that does save a little bit of money. Granted, Howie did a good job on that Slay extension. It does lower the cap hit, so good for him, but it's just this was the wrong time to go after a deep corner, in my opinion. It was the wrong time to do it in free agency. But that aside, your one main hole, in my opinion, is running back. Rashad Penny, I'm sorry, he has not been healthy. He's not been healthy. He just got released. Well, not released, but he's no longer on a team where their primary asset is their run game. Because, he's always hurt. He has 7 yards or 6 yards per carry. That's awesome. I love that. And I love Rashad Penny. But I think Kenny Gainwell is not a dude who's going to pair up with Rashad Penny and bring this team to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's the case. And I've been talking myself into it. I do think Bijan, even though it's early, we have to start factoring in how teams will evaluate someone who could be a 10-year starter as a top 3 running back in the NFL. So I do think this is going to be the way they go. It's not my prime pick. I would go Myles Murphy, personally. I'm just telling you right now, I'm going to go Myles Murphy. But Bijan Robinson feels extremely realistic based on the moves that they have made. And at pick number 30, I already know exactly who I'm going to be putting my sights on because I know there's going to be an edge rusher that I love and that you love there. So stay tuned for that. Pick number 11, we moved back, acquired an extra first round pick. And it sucks because I would love to go Bijan at this pick. But I think Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter are awesome. I think they're both great choices. But here's the thing. A lot of people love Christian Gonzalez. That's great. I think Joey Porter Jr. is a better fit. You brought on Cam Sutton for 3 years, Emmanuel Mosley for 1. That's the real reason I'm looking at a corner right now, is because of that Emmanuel Mosley for 1 deal. Jeff Okudah still is trying to find himself. To me, I think getting a boundary DB is still digestible. You added that first round pick, and you technically moved back later on. But still, I think adding that first round pick gives you that ability to be like, you know what? We can take the best player available. We have a lot of holes already filled up, and you have Chauncey on your team. Don't even get me started about that. I think Joey Porter Jr. fits a lot better with what Cam Sutton's play style is, and that's going to be more the longer-term vision. So I think Joey Porter Jr. is the best selection at this pick, and it's a guy who I'm going to start taking a lot more. So Bryce Young was that first selection there for the Texans. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and go an edge rusher, and I'm going to go Myles Murphy. We were talking about this dude as a top 3 pick, top 5 pick, and he's still number 4 on my big board, formerly number 1. You look at 2021 tape, you look at him versus Boston College, you see the best player in the draft. 275 pounds, extremely smart, extremely powerful. To me, I think that's totally worth taking at pick number 12 and giving D'Amico Ryans another physical freak to work with. Pick number 13 for the Jets. I usually opt for offensive line here, and I think I'm just going to continue that trend. Offensive line is just so key. If you bring in Karen Rodgers, you're going to need to protect him. So we're going to go Broderick Jones, who's just a consistent dude until he faces Isaiah McGuire. But at pick number 14 for the Patriots, we could move back here, but I cannot see Bill Belichick passing on a raw talent with so much upside as Christian Gonzalez. It just doesn't really make sense. I think Miles Bryant is one of their dudes that they have starting at corner. I'm tripping if I might be getting that wrong. But obviously I know that corner is a position I would go after if I am Bill Belichick, and I think the value is just incredible. At pick number 15, we are seeing receivers fall here, but I do think Green Bay is between 2 players, and that's Brian Branch as well as Lucas Van Ness. And it's just hard for me to think that the Packers would pass on Lucas Van Ness. He has so much raw power, and they love taking somebody who has a ton of potential and it's just shown physical tools. It just matches up too well. It just does. It's one of those matches made in heaven, which means they'll probably not do it. But, I'm not a huge fan of Lucas Van Ness. I just think that the stars are lining up a little bit too well. So at pick number 16 for Washington, this is going to kill me as a Steelers fan, but I'm going to take one of my favorite corners in the draft, Deonte Banks. He's somebody, if you put him in the right system, he could be the best corner in the class. I just think that you really do have to put him in a very specific situation where it's heavy press. I don't know exactly if Washington's primary goal will be that, but I do think that he's a longer-term investment, and I think his value at 16 is incredible. You could go offensive line for him, but I'm going to opt for Deonte Banks because I do think he can be truly special in the right spot. For the Steelers, I would love to go Peter Skoronski, and we're going to see him continue to fall because the Steelers have invested so much in their guard position, and I just cannot draft a guard for the Steelers. I can't. I really can't. So I'm going to be going after Darnell Wright here, athletic tackle, and you have to think about what they are going to be. He's probably going to start in a year, but he could start immediately. He's had experience at left tackle and right tackle. He came into right tackle for the first time this year, and he locked down. He went up against Will Anderson Jr. and freaking won that match. That's incredible to show that potential. He has slip-ups here and there, but at 330-plus pounds, as that type of athlete, he's going to be truly special if he goes to the right spot. and I do think the Steelers could be one of those spots. Pick number 18. This is actually going to be a pretty hot take. I'm going to go Quentin Johnston here. You lost out on DJ Chark. You guys need a wide receiver 1. And you got my wide receiver and corner 1 in this draft. He's an X-build receiver. It just sucks to see that, you don't really have DJ Chark there, because I thought that would be really cool. But I really do think this is an underrated need. And the value for X receivers in this class, you have some good dudes on day 3, but how often do you want a wide receiver 1? Like, you have to take a shot on a wide receiver 1 in day 3. That's not very good for a team that, in my opinion, has a chance of winning the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that to kiss y'all's ass or Micro Mike's. This is a genuine opinion I have. I think you guys could win the Super Bowl. So Quentin Johnston will definitely get you there. Pick number 19 for the Buccaneers. Peter Skoronski might be the best move here. They like versatility. He's such an incredible player, and I think if the Buccaneers could try to move back for sure, but I'm going to go Peter Skoronski. I am. They need help at left tackle, but in my opinion, they could always use guards as well. Pretty sure Shaq Mason isn't even there anymore, but even if he is, I'm pretty sure he got released. But regardless, I think that he's an upgrade over anybody they have on that offensive line, besides right tackle Tristan Wirfs. So you can also use him as a center when Ryan Jensen is gone. I love it. I personally love it. Pick number 20. So Seattle, that would have been a dream. But unfortunately, you can't really get everything that you want. We ended up going after Tyree Wilson before. This is a good spot to trade back, man. Honestly, like looking at the guys available, you got Jackson Smith and Jigba here. And there's only one large receiver left that's worth this pick. And if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm saying, dude, let me take a quick jump up there and let me secure my guy for Lamar. Let me show the love I have for him. And I think it will only take like a 4th round pick. So I'm going to actually offer a future 4th round pick and a future 7th to be able to move up. I think the Seahawks want to value that more anyways. So I'm curious if, let me see if this is, okay. That is crazy. How the hell? They're smoking crack there at PFF, which I think we all know. We'll toss in a 2025 fifth. There we go. It's not going to affect the mock draft anyway. So debate amongst yourselves, but I'm going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba here, who would be an excellent option there for Lamar. Jumping the Chargers. Now, the Chargers sitting here, I'm actually going to go Brian Branch. And it hurts because I want to go Dalton Kincaid based on how Kellen Moore loves his tight ends. But Nasir Adderley retired. I think that the upside of Brian Branch is incredible. Him, Derwin James, and then, when J.C. Jackson gets used properly, it's going to be a nasty secondary. Pick number 22. So we moved back. And again, we have Tyree Wilson already. This is a great spot for me to have gone after a linebacker, but plans have changed, and it kind of sucks to say that, but it is what it is. I'm actually going to trade back again. I think I am. So you got guys like Nolan Smith on the board, but there's also tackles like Anton Harrison. And if you look at the tackles who are left, there's only 2 that are starter quality. And I'm looking at potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that could be interested in tackles. So if I'm a team like the Bills, I want to at least ensure that I'm getting a star tackle, but also I think the Bengals could be looking for that pure right tackle. And you just brought on Orlando Brown, and he's going to be playing left. I don't think Lyle is going to be great as a right tackle. You could also see the Chiefs being ballsy and going for a right tackle themselves. But I think the Bills are in more of a position to be ballsy than anybody. And that's why I'm going to be moving up with the Buffalo Bills to select a running back. And based on this, 2022 to this, I think you'll require a 3rd round pick to be able to move up. That way Seattle does continue to have that. And then maybe we'll just trade in a future 6th just to add a little bit more value. The Bills then move up, and then they are going to select an offensive tackle. To me, I think the best value is Anton Harrison, but you could also see DeJuan Jones being an incredible option. You choose whichever one you want, because I think the next team that selects one will be happy with either. But I think Anton has played a game at right tackle starting out the year, and I think his level of play is better than DeJuan Jones. But, I mean, you got to admit, the ceiling is incredibly high for DeJuan. I do love him. I love a lot of these tackles in this draft. It's just, there's a sharp drop-off. That's why you got to deal with the issues as they come. Defensive interior with Kalijah Cansey is very intriguing for the Vikings, but man, this is a tough spot for him. I don't think any of the corners are worth it. You could look at linebacker here because I believe Kendricks is gone as well. And I don't know why the hell I just clicked on special teams. But when you look at the linebackers, Jack Campbell would be such an amazing player. This is another great spot to move back. You don't have a second round pick. You guys do need to at least acquire more draft capital. And I'm looking at teams that would probably be looking for a boundary corner or a right tackle. I think the Jaguars are a perfect team to draft a right tackle. And without Juwan Taylor there, more than ever. So I'm going to look at a team, and that team's actually going to be the Bengals. I think the Vikings are going to do an out-of-division trade here. The Cincinnati Bengals are moving up. Am I going crazy with trades right now? Sure I am. But we are going to add in that third-round pick. We're actually going to give 2/3 to move up from this spot because I think that now, since there's so little tackle capacity, the Bengals are going to be a little bit more ballsy. It's going to cost a lot more to move up and select the last draftable right tackle in the class, DeJuan Jones. Pick number 24 for the Jaguars. I'm sorry, Jags. I would have loved to have gone after right tackle for you guys, but we are sitting here. Kalijah's incredible value, but I'm not going to be going that way. Personally, I think that defensive back is the way to go. Cam Smith was not worth it at 23. I don't really think he's fully worth it at 24, but now there's not really a team wanting to trade up. I actually am going to go Dalton Kincaid, though. I am. I don't usually like going tight end in the first round for you, but based on the options available, I don't think anybody is good enough to warrant it. Pick number 25. So we got Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison on the board. I want a little bit more size to that receiving core, personally. I just do. So I'm actually going to opt for... Man, I can't opt for offensive line this early. None of these guys are good enough to be warranted being taken this high. Peter Skoronski would be a fun move if you guys made a move up for him. But, I mean, I just can't see it. I really can't. So I wish that you guys could get more size on the outside, but unfortunately, you guys are not going to. Instead, you're going to get consolation prize of somebody who I think might have the upside of Antonio Brown and Zay Flowers. Pick number 26 for the Cowboys. It's a team that I don't really think needs that much. I don't think Jordan Addison's much of an addition because I comped him to Brandon Cooks, and, well, you got Brandon Cooks. So I think that you could get someone like Breezy or Cansey and could call it a day there. Linebacker, I don't know why the hell they would list that as the position of need. You just brought back Leighton Vander Esch as well. I don't really see many issues with this team. It's another Super Bowl caliber roster. So I personally think it's a good time to trade back as well. And a team that I think will be ballsy will be the Steelers. Because for one reason, Jordan Addison's on the board. And this league is going to be built on these quarterback and wide receiver combos from college. I think it will cost a third-round pick. I think the Steelers could use that third-round pick a little bit better, but when you do move up, you are going to be selecting Jordan Addison, and you have that instant chemistry. Now you have offensive line and wide receiver help. You need DBs, but at this point, they just aren't worth it. And I don't think they'd be worth it at 32 either. At pick number 27. So I think this is a great spot to potentially take a high upside defensive interior. You got to continue developing the offensive line. I think our defensive line, the Brian Breezy pick, I do love it. I know y'all hate it, but it is something that is incredible value. It really is, because his upside is just too damn good to pass on at this point. He's going to be going the next couple of picks anyway, so it's not like you're overreaching. You traded back, you got great value, you got a lot of picks, and you have the ability to fill in holes later. This defensive interior class later on, not too bueno. Brian Breezy has incredible potential. I'd totally spend that on him. Pick number 28, corner still is a position I am dying to fill, and Cam Smith is now worth that pick. Pick number 29, Kalijah Cansey would be a really solid pick for this team. I know you guys have added a couple defensive tackles in your free agency, but you lost multiple as well, and I still think that you guys can take someone like Kalijah's talent, because also you're trying to take him away from another rival, but luckily for us, this is the reason. I did not force this because Nolan Smith, I couldn't find a fit for him earlier. He just falls to this point. Nolan Smith's incredible. Now you can use him as your edge rusher. You got a running back and an edge rusher here. Those are kind of the positions that, in my opinion, probably should be addressed the most. But I mean, Nolan Smith's incredible. You're having him pair back up with Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. The only better situation would be to end up making a move for Jalen Carter and then Nolan Smith as well. So then you'd have that whole ass Georgia defense there. Pick number 31. So I think Felix might be the right move. And I'm going to take this on the chin. It's 100% my bad. I said D Ford because I just have like some weird ability to not remember Frank Clark's name. And then that was just the first edge rusher that popped into my mind. So that's on me. I meant Frank Clark. Frank Clark is sub 265. So Spag is willing to work with at least one of them. I think BJ Ojolari is someone who I'm going to give a lot of props to and someone who deserves a little bit more respect. He is my number 6 player in the draft. So that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned for round number 2 tomorrow. See you on the far side. Peace.